The Last of Us Season 2 is a massive disappointment. It's not due to the very early death of Joel Miller in episode 2, nor is it the quote unquote miscast of Bella Ramsey as Ellie, but it's the writing, pacing, and overall trajectory of this season. With only 7 episodes to work with, the series fast tracks Ellie's path of revenge to feel like a nothing burger at the end of the day. Season 1 strived in making additions and changes to the original story while still keeping the core narrative alive. Season 2, however, makes too many changes where the plot gets lost and the version of Ellie we follow feels disconnected from the original material. Here's why The Last of Us Season 2 sucks. In case you don't know, The Last of Us Part 2 released in 2020 on the PlayStation 4 with a massive discourse online surrounding the narrative. While I did not totally hate the game, I felt like it was trying to do too much and lost many players once you took control of Abby. Everyone had a different opinion on the game, which made talking about it interesting. Tasking Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin to adapt this project was never going to be easy. Druckmann is very aware of the backlash online regarding Part 2's story and possibly overcorrected much of the narrative in fear of repeating history. Should they keep the original story the same and hope TV audiences react positively to the parallels between Ellie and Abby, or should they make changes to make it easier to follow and more accessible for general viewers? I thought the show would switch back and forth between Ellie and Abby to have their stories go side by side, with flashback episodes spliced in between to have the moment where they meet at the theater that much more powerful. Instead, they decided to keep it straight with Ellie's story and had Abby introduced in episode 1 to not make her character seem out of place when she kills Joel. Most of Season 2's flaws rely on the writing for its characters. Ellie especially suffers from inconsistent tones and never a clear beginning, middle, or end for her arc. Obviously, there's much more to her story that will likely be explored in Season 4, but her journey should still be coherent in this season. At the start of Ellie's path to Seattle, her anger and rage is not present. Whether she's hiding it from Dina or not, we as the viewers never see moments into her psyche, how much anger and pain she's going through because she's putting on this strong face on the outside. It's not until episode 5 where we see Ellie hesitate to play her guitar in the auditorium, almost like it reminds her of Joel and her mission to kill Abby. Why does it take us so long to finally see Ellie's rage in Season 2? She's clearly messed up in episode 3, walking through Joel's house before talking with Dina about the WLF. A big reason why Ellie's revenge story falls flat is because we never see her in action. One of the biggest things Season 1 does is cut out most of the gameplay sequences, retaining the iconic moments like their entrance into Kansas City and the museum littered with infected. Here, the team recognized you can't cut everything out in service of the story. The action and violence has a purpose in building Joel and Ellie's relationship, where Joel's massacre at the hospital feels more realistic. Season 2, post Joel's death, Ellie never has a solo encounter with the WLF or the Scars. She's always accompanied by Dina and or Jesse, and if she does encounter them, she doesn't win the engagement. She never has a scene to unleash this rage to show viewers that Ellie means business, that she's determined to kill Abby in Seattle for what she did to Joel. Instead, she has these moments of wanting to find Abby, but it's not consistently present in her character. Her scene with Nora feels straight out of the game, but it doesn't feel earned. Although the performances by Ramsey and Tati Gabrielle are stellar, this is Ellie's first time killing a non-infected person this season. Imagine if we had a sequence where Ellie had to fight off WLF soldiers and or Scars in a prior episode. Cutting out the violence makes Ellie's revenge plot feel weightless. Now, some of you might be asking, wait, didn't Dina and Ellie fight off some WLF soldiers at the TV station? To that, I would say you are correct, but they weren't trying to fight them. They just wanted to sneak out, and when they got caught, Ellie didn't kill anyone, Dina did. Dina, played by Isabella Merced, is one of the best cast members this season. She truly brings Dina to life more than ever, which might be in part due to the writing prompting her up more. While her and Ellie journey to Seattle, the season focuses on their relationship a lot. It doesn't feel like a revenge story and more about Ellie and Dina's adventure together. I am a fan of how Ellie's immunity is revealed to Dina. The standoff in the theater is great, demonstrating Dina's willingness to end Ellie's suffering if she were to turn. Then The sex scene happens. The extreme tonal whiplash during these 7 minutes is wild, to say the least. It sums up season 2 almost perfectly, a complete mess to follow as tones and plot threads constantly clash together. I get why this moment of love and relief happens because they truly don't know what will happen next, and almost losing a loved one will cause this sequence of events. It still doesn't excuse how wildly jarring it is to go from one scene to the next here. Ellie's excitement over the possibility of becoming a dad was so out of left field. In the game, Ellie was not happy about Dina tagging along if she knew she was pregnant. Obviously, in the show, Dina likely didn't know 100% until the pregnancy test, but Ellie's reaction to the whole situation is completely out of character. Even if the writers and executives wanted to go in a different direction, it's not Ellie at that point. Her character is often pitted against Dina, Jesse, or Abby, with nearly every single time to demonstrate the other is better than Ellie. For example, at the start of episode 5, Dina is trying to map out where they can move next to get closer to Abby. Dina is doing most of the strategy because Ellie can't triangulate maps. The game version of Ellie is very capable due to Joel's teaching and her upbringing in this post-apocalyptic world. Trying to make viewers believe that Ellie isn't smart enough to do that is not consistent with what was shown previously. In season 1, Ellie is a cunning smartass of a kid. She knows more than she's letting on, but season 2 completely destroys any intelligence left in her character. She never has a moment of strategy or victory this season. She either loses the fight or has someone else save her in the process. When Ellie is pleading for her life after Abby enters the theater, I was confused at that moment. We see in the previous episode how much her sacrifice to the Fireflies meant to her, that Joel's lie removed her purpose from this world. Her obsession with Moss is because she wants to die. So, why are we having Bella Ramsey's Ellie plead for her life here? Or that she didn't mean to quote-unquote hurt Abby's friends when she clearly beats up Nora in episode 5? The accidental kill on Mel was something I liked at first, but looking back on the season as a whole, Ellie's actions are not that ruthless and only show hints of what the original revenge plot looked like. Because we have no action sequences with Ellie, we don't see her intentionally leaving a trail of bodies behind in her pursuit of Abby. In the game, the act of killing Mel and Owen is in self-defense, but revealing the pregnancy shows maybe Ellie's desire for revenge has taken her too far. It becomes an all-encompassing moment for her where she's content with going home now despite Abby still breathing. At least her friends are dead and she still has hers, right? In the show, it further emphasizes Ellie's lack of initiative in her own story. She doesn't want to kill Mel and Owen, but does so anyway. What's the point of hunting Abby down if you're not willing to kill her friends too? I understand she didn't want to hurt Mel and Owen, but the reality of only killing Abby in this revenge plot is unrealistic. Abby spared Ellie, and that choice meant all of her friends would die. Do you think Ellie would do the same if it meant her and her loved ones would be in danger for the rest of their lives? The detail of only wanting Abby dead makes zero sense in this revenge plot and once again weakens Ellie's overall narrative. Another out-of-character moment for Ellie is when she has the urge to help the Scar kid that's getting hunted down by WLF soldiers. Jesse stops her from revealing themselves, saying this isn't their war and should not compromise the mission of finding Tommy and returning home. Ellie is the main protagonist of The Last of Us, but just like Joel, she's not a hero. She never wanted to save anyone that's outside of her group. It's a kill or be killed kind of world, and especially with what she's seen from the Scars, why is she so headstrong about saving this kid? Oh, it's because the writers wanted to do a gotcha moment between her and Jesse for when they split up. My god, this was such a cheap way of increasing the conflict while also telling viewers that no one in this world is a hero, to show how hypocritical Jesse is in trying to be the good guy, but only doing so when it's in regards to his community. Which is exactly what you should do in this world. You can't risk looking out for strangers when they might betray you or put your own people at risk. The argument worked when I first watched it, but Looking back, it feels very forced. Jesse revealing he voted no to Ellie's proposal also feels forced. He should know that Ellie is already in a pissy and headstrong mood trying to go after Abby. Why would he escalate the situation by revealing this information now? It just feels like the writers want them to go down each other's throats, so them parting ways feels like a certainty. It creates unnecessary conflict between Ellie and Jesse when they patch things up in the auditorium anyways. In the game, they did not have this massive blow-up moment, but Jesse understands where Ellie is coming from. Her excuses to not follow Tommy's trail felt so half-assed. Jesse already knew they were splitting up, and there was no convincing her otherwise. Tommy's character has a drastically different role from what we've seen in the game. His leadership role at Jackson holds more weight on his character. It also helps that he has a kid in the picture, meaning he has more to lose and can't go out recklessly to find Abby. I like this change in Tommy's character because it thematically makes sense for this version of him. Yes, Joel is his brother, but he has a more reasonable approach to the situation and is written accordingly. However, he does end up in the same spots by the finale, sniping WLF soldiers and pinned on the ground by Abby. It kinda makes all of these changes for Tommy feel pointless at the end of the day. Like, why go through all these hurdles to change Tommy's character when he ends up right back at the theater? One of my favorite additions for Season 2 is the infection siege of Jackson. It's not because of the cool action set piece it brings to the episode on top of the death of Joel, but it adds a sense of urgency for Joel, Dina, Ellie, and Jesse. The storm is one thing, but being able to see the smoke and flames of Jackson from afar makes returning home all that more important. It's also shown that Abby is the one to cause the mess, almost creating her own grave and her path for revenge. Abby is introduced at the start of episode 1, showing the aftermath in Salt Lake City and her determination to find Joel. I had a feeling Druckmann and Marsden were going to do this to give viewers a better understanding of Abby, so when she kills Joel, it's not 100% out of nowhere. I don't mind this at all. Honestly, I think it's a good change to bring Abby into the loop this soon, because The Last of Us Part 2 is Ellie and Abby's story, how the cycle of revenge and violence is never ending, where two wrongs don't make a right, that everyone in this story is not a hero or villain. They're just doing their best, what they feel is right for their world, where they'll find peace for themselves. I dug the scene of them at the cemetery outside of the hospital and Abby's bad dream of the moment she found out her father is dead. The dream sequence especially is such a powerful scene to show the effects of Joel's actions on Abby. She's so determined to kill this guy, almost like Ellie should have gone in this direction too. Unfortunately, when Abby finally has Joel in her grasp, she spends a good chunk of the episode monologuing to him how she waited for this moment, kind of relishing in it before killing him. This felt like the writers wanted to, once again, explain to the audience why Abby is killing Joel, to really nail it down that Joel killed her dad, which is why Abby is doing this. Given the additional context before, especially with the opener of Abby's dream, I feel like most viewers could piece it together. She did say she wanted to kill Joel slowly, which fits with the pacing of episode 2. Still, I find the overall speech too long and could have been cut short to not repeat the same ideas. Abby's discovery of Joel's name is far better here, making it a natural reveal as opposed to Tommy and Joel introducing themselves. Caitlin Deaver's portrayal of Abby from the 2.5 episodes we've seen so far is pretty good. Deaver was originally planned to play Ellie in a live-action movie adaptation for The Last of Us, but was caught in development hell. Once it spun off into an HBO series, Deaver aged out of the role, but Druckmann liked her so much he brought her back to play Abby. The decision to change Abby physically from a buff woman to a more physical body type to Ellie is fine. I understand why people prefer the buff version as another subtlety in Abby's story and how determined she was to take down Joel. I do like the direction of making Abby a different or alternate version of Ellie, two sides of the same coin kind of deal. They opted in for Deaver despite her lack of physical prowess because Druckmann and co. want actors who can act first and foremost. Although there are actors out there who look more like their video game counterparts, how a person carries a character is most important, which I agree with. Ramsey, Deaver, Merced, Mazzino, literally everyone in this cast kills it this season despite some of the shoddy material they're given. Pedro Pascal is part of this equation too. He truly solidifies his performance as Joel in season 2. He's amazing every time he's on screen, and it is a major reason why episode 6 works so much. Druckmann is directing this episode, so he deserves some credit too, but Pascal embodies Joel as this flawed human being who will selfishly do anything for Ellie. When he cried after the spaceship birthday surprise, he solidified himself as one of the best fictional girl dad characters. I wish Ellie found out the truth about the Fireflies the same way it was shown in the game, traveling back to the hospital to look for answers herself. The weird amalgamation between Eugene and the Porsche scene kind of works. I just love that Salt Lake City scene from the game, and I wish it was fully adapted here. The show has been teasing Eugene since episode 1, and we're supposed to feel this sense of curiosity when he appears in episode 6. It's a cool way to show how Joel is able to lie so effortlessly in front of Ellie. The porch scene is elevated so much by Pascal and Ramsey's performance. Having this be the full circle moment for Ellie makes her desire to go on patrol with Joel the next day that much more devastating. She was trying to patch things up with him, but Abby takes him from this world. I understand why the show chose to dump all the flashback sequences into episode 6 because you can't pay Pascal starring credit every time you have a flashback sequence. The show's budget would go through the roof. The initial setup of going all the way back to Tommy and Joel's childhood was an interesting touch. It brings further context into who Joel is as a person and why it's so important for him to be a dad. I love the sequence because it felt like a change/addition that was necessary before diving into the past of Joel and Ellie. Also, I love Tony Dalton in Hawkeye/Daredevil, so it was nice to see him here. Lastly, for episode 6, I'm a huge fan of following it year to year on Ellie's birthday. It felt like a nice gradual development for their relationship and how much more independent Ellie wanted to be while still thinking about the Fireflies. The first scene we see of Joel is shared with Dina. I love that the season builds up their relationship by having her spend more time with him and also accompany him before his death. Dina has an actual motive to see this revenge plot through. Ellie's reflection on killing Nora with Dina is an important scene for their characters. The game keeps the scene quiet, short, and somber. Not much is said between them, but it's very clear that Ellie is shaken up after getting Nora to talk. Dina doesn't say much, but reassures Ellie that it's okay to do what she did to get to Abby, a supportive partner who understands where she's coming from in this messed up world. The show extends the scene and has Ellie tell Dina exactly what happened with Joel, the Fireflies, and Abby. Instead of being supportive, Dina says,
"We need to go home."
Like she does not approve of Ellie's desire for revenge anymore. It's so confusing because a few minutes earlier, Dina says,
"Yeah, well, maybe she got what she deserved."
But when Ellie tells her everything, she's appalled. Almost like the writers don't know where to put Dina in this situation and decide to do both. That doesn't work. It's even more bizarre because of Dina and Joel's actual relationship in the show. She said she loved Joel when she talks to Ellie once she's out of the hospital and went through multiple plans to get their butts out of Jackson. The writers do so much to build Dina's motive to travel to Seattle and support Ellie in this quest for revenge, but decide to back out of it at the last second. What a waste. I know there's other points of discussion to rave or criticize about, but the final aspect I want to bring up for season 2 is the return of Spores. The creators purposefully left them out of season 1 to make the show more realistic, because the characters would have to be wearing masks consistently if it's airborne like that. However, Druckmann and co. decide to backtrack on this idea and reintroduce Spores at the start of episode 5. I did not mind their absence from season 1. Their reasoning made sense while adding the fungus network for the cordyceps. Backtracking on the exclusion of Spores makes me believe they did not plan season 2 thoroughly. They probably got up to the Nora scene and asked themselves, how are we supposed to do this without Spores? And the answer they came up with? Just bring them back. It's such a stupid decision to remove them in season 1 for realism and then bring them back the next season because they couldn't format Nora's scene differently. Because after that sequence, Spores do not return. And how was this show supposed to introduce the Rat King in season 3 if Spores didn't exist? There was not enough time in the writer's room to plan out The Last of Us Season 2, which is why it fails. The writing that Ramsey has to work with is not up to par with who Ellie is as a character. So many people are using the bad material as an excuse to criticize Ramsey's performance when she showed up and performed amazingly every episode. Druckmann and Marsden felt like the natural breakpoint for this season would be after 7 episodes, but I don't know. The finale felt so rushed. It was more so about setting up season 3 than actually concluding Ellie's story. The season's pacing is all over the place because they immediately slow things down after Joel dies. A 3-month time jump is wild because realistically, the opportunity to catch up to Abby and her friends would have been gone at that point. Then the show will speed things up by surprisingly having Ellie kill Nora at the end of episode 5, despite not having any major action sequence to demonstrate Ellie's rage. An additional episode to show Ellie's violence, give her solo time to find Scar/WLF soldiers, and make her character compelling to follow. She never gets to fight this season, and if she does, she ain't winning. Moments in certain episodes do shine, but compared to what I would say is perfection in Season 1, The Last of Us Season 2 is terrible. Ellie's story is capped off and every choice the executives made is definitive. There's no going back on the "I'm gonna be a dad" or pleading for her life to Abby. The creatives have a ton of heavy lifting to win viewers back. Ellie's revenge plot is so terribly written that it doesn't feel like the driving force for her character. Fearful of another backlash incident online, the season butchers Ellie's narrative to not have the same weight as it did in the game, nor does it characterize her properly. That is why The Last of Us Season 2 sucks. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys have not already, you can subscribe. I put new videos up on Saturdays. Follow me on social media at TV Sonic Gaming. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much everything. And you can check out my podcast called the Travis and Damien Podcast. Talk about games, movies, and anime every other week. And yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching this video once again. And I'll see you guys next time with more videos.